The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed by hosts and guests on this podcast are their own and do not represent the views, thoughts, and opinions of UCLA Athletics or UCLA Gymnastics. The content of this podcast is strictly for informational purposes only and should not be considered professional advice.
What's meant for you will be for you, like fight for your sort of rights. But if that doesn't work, then feel those feelings and then start to plan and be forward thinking. We have one life, so there's no point sort of staying stagnant, staying in one point. You've got to keep moving forwards, try and fulfill that dream again, or whether that chapter's over for you. But I think just keep moving forwards, look for those silver linings. There usually is one.
Welcome to the Black Gymnast Olympic Dreams edition of the Resilience to Brilliance podcast, where you'll be inspired by the history and eye-opening accounts from Olympians who lived the dream. I'm your host, Kim Hamilton Anthony. Here we go. The Black Gymnast Olympic Dream edition of the Resilience to Brilliance podcast is a short podcast series dedicated to the young Black gymnasts and their families out there who have the Olympic dream. In the 2024 Olympic trials, you will likely see more Black gymnasts competing at this level than ever before. So I thought I'd bring on some individuals who can, first of all, provide an encouragement and advice for young athletes and their families on how to navigate gymnastics while still embracing the skin they're in. Those who can help us learn a bit more about the history of Black gymnasts, and also, of course, those who can share their own stories about the resilience it took to achieve their Olympic dreams. On this episode, Olympian Danusia Francis. Danusia Francis was an alternate for the 2012 Olympics for Great Britain, and she competed as an Olympian for Jamaica in 2020. In between those two Olympics, she managed to win an NCAA national beam title and become a six-time All-American at UCLA. Danusia and I talked about her 10-year Olympic journey, and I walked away so inspired by who she is as a person, and I was impressed with her character and the positivity she's able to bring to life. So let's listen in to what she had to say. Danusia, welcome to Resilience to Brilliance. So glad to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to talk to you.
I'm excited to talk with you too. It's been a long time since I've seen you. I think you were actually competing at UCLA when we first met years ago. And it's just so good to be able to spend time with you today. Now, you have one of the most resilient Olympic stories that I have ever heard. I mean, you pursued the Olympics 3 times, and you were finally able to realize that dream in the 2020 Olympics in Tokyo. Now, let's go all the way back to 2012. What was it like for you trying out for the Olympics that very first time?
So the very first time was when I was competing for Great Britain, and it kind of been like everything up to that point was building and leading up to the Olympics. And I was 18, which I considered a really good age because in my mind before UCLA, before all of that, I was going to stop gymnastics, and it was perfect because I was going to finish school, be an adult, and that chapter was going to close. Obviously, little did I know, but at the time it just seemed like if I did or didn't make the Olympics, I'd be fine. I'd start this new chapter. And sort of building up to it and coming so close, being reserve or alternate was difficult. How they told us was a phone call. So the Olympics before in 2008, I wasn't part of that, but one of my teammates from my club, she was, and for them, they actually announced it at the, I think it was at the British Championships, and they all kind of ran out. I think actually quite similar to what the Americans do. So for us, it was private. A phone call. So I think I did actually appreciate that because you got to kind of, obviously some of us, including myself, were getting slightly disappointing news. And it was nice to kind of be able to digest that and be with your family and kind of take that in privacy. So I think it would have been quite difficult to handle that if it had been more public. But I think I was really fortunate to have UCLA then to look forward to. So when I got to UCLA, it was actually being there that made me celebrate and be proud of the achievement of being alternate. Before that, I had kind of seen it as a failure.
Not at all.
Yeah, so it was interesting because that fall, when I got to UCLA, they were celebrating everyone that had been at the Olympics, and they kept putting my names on these lists, and I kept saying, oh, I didn't compete, I was alternate. They were like, yeah, that counts. And I was like, wow, okay. And then I started to look at it through a different lens, that actually, wow, that's an achievement. Yes, it wasn't the full dream that you dreamt, but it is an achievement. So now I do look back at it with a lot more pride.
Oh, I'm happy for you. I'm happy that you're able to see the achievement that it was. So you ended up at UCLA. How in the world did that happen? You're living in the UK.
So a couple of my friends had gone out. So the one I mentioned, actually, that she went to the 2008 Olympics, she was a couple of years older. One of my training partners, Becky Wing, and she'd gone off to Stanford. And then I had another friend, Marissa King, at Florida. And they were having an amazing time. But I think I'm just so kind of like set in my plan. When I make a plan, I stick to it. So I was like, no, I'm going to stop at 18 and start this new chapter. But my mum, mums know best. And she was seeing the great opportunity that it was to go to college in America and seeing what a great time my friends were having. So she was kind of asking me to at least consider it. And I was like, And then I just randomly said to her one day, okay, fine, I'll consider it if I can go to UCLA. But I didn't actually know anything about UCLA gymnastics. Didn't even know they had a gymnastics team. It just, it's quite a well-known brand, UCLA. So I think that's why I said it, thinking it was so far-fetched that I would just like say that and my mum would just get off my back kind of thing.
Well, that backfired.
So my mum goes on to like a college gymnastics message board that they had those at the time. I think it was before social media even. And just said, oh, this is my daughter, Danusia Francis. And do you think any coaches would be interested in her? And it just so happened that Florida and UCLA, well, someone that knew Miss Val and then the coach from Florida contacted my mum through this message board and then contacted Miss Val and put my mum and Miss Val in touch. And she was really interested. And yeah, it just went from there really. And it was on my official visit that I was sold. I was like, okay, my mum was right. This is amazing. I have to come here.
Now, what was it about UCLA that really got you on that recruiting trip?
I think it was like stepping into a movie, just from obviously like the facilities, the incredible weather, the people, everyone was so happy and so upbeat. And I just felt like, wow. Yeah. And then they all showed me a really good time. They took me out to parties and I had a really fun time with, I think Miss Val purposely paired me with the slightly older girls on my recruit trip. So I was with like Sam Pejek and Liv Courtney. They were a couple years older. And I think she knew they liked to go out and she knew that I did already because the drinking age in the UK is a bit younger. So we didn't go too crazy or anything, but they did show me a good time. And it was just kind of the welcomeness of everybody. And yeah, I just had a great time, honestly. And it was just honestly something out of a movie. And I was like, okay, if I don't take this opportunity, I would be crazy.
It is a special school for sure. I'm a little biased on that, I must say. Now, what impact did competing in collegiate gymnast have on your outlook on gymnastics as a whole?
Yeah, it had a huge impact actually. And it was almost like everything I was doing, I had been doing at my club, but times like 100. I think my club did a really good job, especially in kind of like the constraints of the elite world, to make sure they were coaching gymnasts as a person and to make sure we were having fun in different outlets. And when we were going on trips, kind of like being able to see the country we were in. And it wasn't always just about the gymnastics. So now I know how rare that was. And I really look back and see how fortunate I was to have those coaches and that experience. But coming to college, it took it to that next level where my coaches were quite good at thinking outside the box in terms of skills I was doing. And then at UCLA, it was like 10 times that, and getting to kind of play around and see what I could do on the beam, and obviously coming up with that dismount and being able to be the performer that I always had been, but just to take it to that next level. And it was just so appreciated by the team, the coaches, the fans. I just felt like as a gymnast, I was so well suited to NCAA and specifically UCLA. And Miss Val, in a way, she kind of brought us out as performers and wanted us smiling on the beam. Like all of that was just sort of second nature to me, but I didn't know it until it happened. It was just incredible. I tell people now that going to college is you kind of have everything at your fingertips that you need to succeed. And that's genuinely how I felt. And you kind of have to grab it with both hands. It's not easy. It's a big ask. You're doing school, you're doing gym. It's a busy schedule. But yeah, you have everything you need. So if you can plan your days right and work hard, then it is the most incredible experience.
Now, I want to go back to you wanting to do gymnastics until you're 18 and stop. A lot of gymnasts have a hard time retiring, period. So do you think that the fact that your coaches allowed you to explore more than just gymnastics when you traveled and allowed you to have fun, do you think that was a part of you being okay with stopping your gymnastics career at 18? Or is there something else?
No, I definitely do think that definitely had a big part to play. And I'd also say my mum and my family kind of seeing me as not just a gymnast, that also had a huge part to play. It wasn't that, yeah, they saw me as the person, and then gymnastics was something that I did, and it wasn't the other way around. So I think that allowed me to keep that mentality and know that if I wasn't doing gymnastics, I'd still be loved and cared for and have the same friends.
Yes.
And still have the relationship that I had with my coaches, whether I was sort of doing gymnastics and seeing them every day or whether I'd stopped at that point.
Mm-hmm. I think that's so healthy, Danusia. I'm glad you had that experience, because there are a lot of gymnasts that I know who didn't. It was the complete opposite, where gymnastics was our whole world and we didn't know anything outside of that because we spent so much time training in the gym. And of course, we learned some great lessons that we translate into life today, but it was quite a different story. And it's fun to hear that you were able to see life from a different perspective, really.
Yeah, I do feel really, really lucky. And it's kind of now as an adult, and I work on the board at British Gymnastics and I'm on the Pan American Commission. And I think where I've had these good experiences, I do want to try to make sure I'm helping that the next generation and the current generation to also have a positive experience, because I realise how kind of unique that was, which is so sad to say.
I appreciate what you do, and I do want to talk about that a little more in a few minutes. But I want to go to 2016. You're at UCLA. What made you want to try out for the Olympics yet again?
So originally it was just wanting to do a bit more elite gymnastics. So I had done the World University Games for Great Britain, which you had to be obviously a university student to do. So there obviously wasn't as many gymnasts trialing for that one. But after that one, which was an amazing experience, I realised it wasn't going to be feasible to stay on the Great Britain team and travel back and forth and do the camps. And obviously they're a competitive team. So I'm half Polish, half Jamaican. And I decided I would go for one of those teams. So I went for Jamaica. Main reason being I love Usain Bolt and wanted to be on his team.
Oh,
yeah, I saw that they had one or two gymnasts competing for them, so kind of reached out and got the ball rolling. And originally I thought I'll go for the Commonwealth Games, as in 2010 for England, they had clashed with the World Championships, so I didn't get to do the Commonwealth Games, and it was one that was on my bucket list. So I was like, let me go for the Commonwealth Games. And it wasn't even, Olympics hadn't kind of entered the chat at that point. So I went through all the procedures of getting my passport and my FIG license and stuff like that. But when the Commonwealth Games came around, would it have been, I'm trying to think what year, 2014, I think it would have been. For whatever reason, the paperwork just didn't come through and they couldn't send any gymnasts to the Commonwealth Games. So at that point, so many people had helped me to get my passport and everything. So I thought, okay, I better make use of it. So I'll go to the World Championships. Obviously, I was more than excited to do a World Championships and represent Jamaica. So off I went to the World Championships.
That sounds so funny. You're like, well, since I have my passport and I did all this paperwork, I might as well go to World Championships.
Yeah, if only it was as easy as it sounds. Yeah, so it was really exciting to go and do the World Championships, and it only kind of occurred to me during training that, oh, this is the one that qualifies you to the Olympics. So I kind of started to get excited thinking, oh, this could be my second chance type of thing. And me and my coach were like, okay, like we won't, put too much pressure on it, but if it happens, amazing. And then did the World Championships and did qualify to the Olympic test event, which you then had to go to qualify for the Olympics. But unfortunately, Jamaica chose another athlete to go to the test event, so I didn't get to take that opportunity of the Rio Olympics.
And that must have been very challenging because you earned Jamaica's qualifying spot, but you weren't selected. Tell me, go back to the time when you found that out, when you first heard that news. What was that like for you?
Really frustrating, I'd say. I think when it's not in your control, yet you've done everything in your control to the best of your abilities and you've earned that spot kind of thing, it does, yeah, frustrating, I think is the main word that sums it up. I am someone that does try to always look at the silver lining, and it did just so happen that the test event was going to clash with the NCAAs, and obviously it was my senior year, so I just tried to tell myself, okay, it wasn't meant to be kind of thing. Now I look back and obviously it's easier with hindsight, and I do think, okay, it wasn't meant to be. It was amazing getting to do the NCAAs. Obviously my senior year, it would have been a shame to miss that. And also becoming the balance beam champion was another dream. So I did get to accomplish a dream that year. Yes, it wasn't the Olympics. And I think the frustrating thing is sort of the way it happened. But yeah, I'm definitely a glass half full and silver linings type of person. So I do look back at it and think amazing experience that I had at the NCAAs.
I love the way you were able to see the good in it, even though it must have been devastating to work hard to earn your spot, but not receive it. And I want you to think about the person who's listening, who may have done everything they need to do to reach their goal, whatever that is, but for whatever reason, the opportunity has been taken away. What are some things that they can do or think about that will help them to not be bitter about it, to not be vengeful, or to keep them from just giving up on their dreams altogether? What can you say to them?
I would definitely say what's meant for you will be for you. So I think it's hard at the time and you let yourself feel those feelings of sadness or frustration or whatever it might be. I think it's important that you do let yourself feel those and try not to bottle it up. Obviously, do everything you can do. I mean, I went through an appeals process and stuff like that. Do what you can do, like fight for your sort of rights. But if that doesn't work, then feel those feelings and then start to plan and be forward thinking. We have one life, so there's no point sort of staying stagnant, staying in one point. You've got to keep moving forwards, make a decision whether you want to try and fulfill that dream again or whether that chapter's over for you. But I think just keep moving forwards. Look for those silver linings. There usually is one. For the most part, every disappointment or sort of quote unquote failure I've had, there's always been a silver lining that's come from it. It might be hard to see at the time, but when you look back, you'll be able to see the lesson that was there for you to learn.
Ah, Danusia, that is such amazing advice. So good.
Thank you.
So the 2020 Olympics start to roll around. When did you decide, hey, I think I'm going to do this? And how old were you during the time you decided?
So I graduated in 2016 and would have been 22. And then I didn't do gymnastics for 2 years. And
goodness.
then I started in 2018. Yeah. So during those 2 years, I was just living life, having fun. I was coaching here and there and putting on a workshop that I've been doing since then, which is about beam and floor. And when I was going around to different clubs and even going to my home club, people would always ask me, oh, like, are you going to compete again and stuff like that? I was like, no, like, I've graduated. So obviously that means I've retired. And I think then I started to think about it and I was like, obviously graduation for most gymnasts does equal retirement. And so I think I just kind of thought the same for me. And then I started to think, actually, my body feels fine. Like psychologically, I'm fine. I like my club, my coaches. There isn't really anything stopping me if I did want to go back. And then I was kind of thinking, do I? And then I think the hardest thing for me was to kind of admit to myself and to everyone else that I did want to go for the Olympics one more time. So originally, and similar to the 2016 cycle, it was the Commonwealth Games that I was going to go for first. And again, it didn't pan out due to issues with...
I want to pause you on that. I want to make sure I heard you properly. Did you say that it was challenging or difficult for you to tell people that you wanted to go for another Olympics? That you were... Was there some fear? Tell me why.
Yeah, I know. It's looking back, I think it's it's strange and interesting, like you said, to think that I felt like that. But I think I looked back and I still, even though I'd had that shift, as I mentioned, of seeing the reserve spot as an accomplishment. And then obviously 2016, it wasn't in my control. But I think because knowing how it felt in both those occasions at the time, it was so hard and it was difficult to get over, even though I did get over it. I think it was scary to think that that could happen again.
Oh, I get it.
So this time round, the rules had been changed, and it was if you qualify your sport at the World Championships, it's in your name, it's not in your country, and no one can switch you in and out. So that kind of empowered me, and I was kind of like, it's all down to me. And if I work hard and I do a great competition, that's it. No one can take it away from me. This is the first time in those 3 cycles that it's not down to selectors. So yeah, I just felt empowered by that, and I felt that it was just up to me whether I wanted to give it my all or not. So yeah, originally I went in saying I'm going to train for Commonwealth Games. But again, there was just like only a certain amount of spots for Jamaica. And as I'd been in retirement, they only took 1 gymnast, a male gymnast. But okay, we moved forward from there. And then it was kind of, once that had happened and I was still training, I had to admit to myself, my coaches, my family, okay, we're going for the Olympics, we're going for Tokyo. But once I admitted it and sort of said it out loud, it was amazing. I sort of felt like I went full force and started doing vision boards and thinking, if I'm going to go for this, I need to kind of put every ounce of my self-belief and my, just everything into it. And I felt like this was my last shot kind of thing. So yeah, it was exciting to then go full force.
Will you describe your vision board? What was that like? I've heard of people making vision boards for different careers and things like that, but I had not heard someone talk about creating vision boards for gymnastics. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so yeah, same as you. To be fair, at UCLA, they sometimes would talk about us doing them in team meetings and stuff, but I admit I never did actually go and do one at UCLA. I'd kind of sit in the meeting and think, no, that's not for me. But then I thought, you know what, there's probably some wisdom in that. And just I don't even know what it was, but one day I was like, I'm going to do a vision board. So I got a cork board out and I was just writing on different coloured bits of paper, my different goals. Most of it was gymnastics orientated that year. We had the Pan American Games and then the World Championships, which was obviously the Olympic qualifier. So I wrote my goals for some of the smaller competitions I had, and they were all sort of coming true. Some of them would just be like go clean or add in a specific skill in a routine. I never would put like a score down because I feel like that's not really in my control. But then I did put for the Pan American Games that I wanted to make the all-around and the beam final, and I made them both. And so I thought that was quite, I don't know, that once I made those 2, I was like, okay, this is working. This vision board is working. So then for the Olympics, for the World qualifying to the Olympics, I really just went full force and had my vision board, but I would also rewrite qualify for the Olympics and stick it on my mirrors, and I had it like around in a few different places so I would see it every day and just really try to like live and breathe it.
That's pretty incredible. So let's talk about, as you pursued the Olympic Games, take me up until you had that moment where your resilience really had to kick in. Another disappointing thing happened.
Yeah, so obviously COVID was the first one, and getting through that was a lot. Difficult, training at home, training on Zoom, all of that. Obviously getting back into the gym and having to start from scratch when you're training for the Olympics. But to be fair, I think for me, the main thing was getting to the Olympics, being an Olympian. I didn't have chances of a medal. So for me, it was to go and be an Olympian. But training was going really well. And I had a practice competition at my gym just a few days before leaving. And it was honestly amazing. Like, I literally didn't even have a flexed toe out of place. Like, I smashed it. And then the next day, I think I should have listened to my gut. And this is the only like sort of small regret in all of it is I was tired. And obviously I hadn't done many competitions at all because it had been COVID. And thinking it was just a practice competition, normally I would have had the day off after a competition because obviously you're mentally and physically drained. And I think the older you get, for me personally, the more days off I need. But because we were leaving in like a day or 2, I felt like I had to train that day. So I remember saying to my teammate Jess, I'm really tired today. Like, I might just do some conditioning. But then I thought, actually, no, I'll just do some skills. I've got the Olympics, better train kind of thing. So get on the beam, and I did a flick layout. It was a bit wonky and just fell off onto sort of one leg on the floor. And it just didn't feel right. It wasn't super painful, but I was just like, a bit anxious. And the next few days, it was all right. It wasn't swollen or bruised or anything. Then we get out to Tokyo, and when I'm training, every few sort of goes, it was giving way. So then it started to become really worrying, and I was quite apprehensive when training because I just didn't know when it was going to give way. And again, it wasn't too painful, but obviously you don't want to do a vault and wonder if your leg's going to give way. So we decided I would only do bars, and the doctor had looked at me and said it was all right. They were actually all right for me to do everything at that point, the doctors that had looked at me. But me and my coach decided to just do bars, and he was spotting me on my dismounts in training, or I would just do no dismount sometimes. That was totally fine. And then someone said, you could go to the hospital in the Olympic Village and get an MRI because they'll give you the results there, and then instead of waiting until you go home. So I was like, brilliant. And obviously you've got top doctors and surgeons and people like that. So I thought it's actually quite a good idea to go and get your injuries checked out.
Of course.
Yeah. So off I went to the MRI, and I was thinking, gosh, I hope something's wrong with my knee because I have been complaining about it quite a lot. But I didn't expect it to be as bad as it was. And they asked me if my coach could come with me to get the results. And I was like, okay, sure. And at that point, I started to think, is something wrong? And then when they said it, I think my coach and me, both of us, our jaws were probably on the floor because there was no swelling, no bruising. Every other ACL that I've seen from friends and teammates has been like huge and swollen. And I think usually it's been like one traumatic event, but I think mine was tearing and tearing over time. So yeah, that was the moment where I think I kind of had to decide how I wanted to feel. And I was just like, I've been through so much in terms of my Olympic journey. And then every single Olympian that was out there had been through so much in terms of COVID. And then we're getting tested every single day. So you're literally watching different athletes get escorted out of the Olympic Village by people in hazmat suits if they test positive. So it's like, they've got that close to their Olympic dream. Yeah. And then had to leave. And that's step closer than them, than those people that unfortunately were getting escorted out. So at that moment, I kind of was like, no, I'm here. I'm going to do this. Whatever it takes, I'm becoming an Olympian. So there was lots of meetings with different people, and we decided that was the safest and best option, just to do a few easy skills, get a score on the board for obviously myself, but also I wanted it to be for Jamaica. I'll be their second ever Olympian, and I kind of wanted to get that momentum and keep that momentum going to show that Jamaica's here in the gymnastics world.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Thank you.
Take me to the day that you became an official Olympic gymnast. Take me to the morning. When you woke up, what was the plan? What were you thinking? And take me all the way through to that moment when you finally saluted that judge to end the routine.
Well, the morning of, we were still having those meetings, deciding what was going to happen. And then we finally decided I was only going to do the simple routine, but I was actually the only one that still wanted to do more. I still wanted to do my whole routine, but with no dismount on bars. So I was quite frustrated actually, because I'd actually done that in training. That was why I wanted to do it. So because I knew it was safe. But then now in hindsight, I realised everybody else was right, because training is one thing, doing it at the Olympics with all the cameras, everything's a different thing. But at the time, so first of all, I was really frustrated. And then I was also frustrated that I was having all these meetings when I wanted to be getting ready and putting my makeup on and preparing for the Olympics. Anyway, finally, I'm on the bus, and my mum had been in some of these meetings, but I called her just to, I don't know, I just really felt like I wanted to talk to my mum at that point. I'm emotional now. But yeah, and then to be fair, talking to her, it made me cry more, but it also made me feel the same feelings that I've expressed to you throughout this interview, that no matter what I do out there, she's still going to love me. And then getting to the, sorry, I'm such a crier, but getting to the,
I'm a crier too.
Yeah. Getting to the training hall was, I was still sort of, I think you could see I was still a bit upset. So it was actually speaking to, first of all, Ellie Black, I spoke to her and just told her the situation, and she was just amazing. She was just like, you're going to become an Olympian no matter what you do out there, whatever you score, like go and enjoy it. And look, you've got no pressure on you. Like, you just get to go out there and have some fun and become an Olympian. Like, this is what you've dreamed of, kind of thing. And hear that from someone like her, who I respect so much and admire so much, and she's accomplished so much, for her to say that really just meant the world. And then the second person that said really similar words to me was Simone as well. So I told her, oh, I'm literally just going to do a couple of toe-ons on the bar and get off. And she said, well, I'll be cheering for you. And she stuck to her word. When I was out there, I remember getting up onto the podium to salute the judges, and I hear from across the arena, because USA was in our subdivision, let's go Noosh, and that was Simone, and then the rest of the USA team joined in, and I just so happened to be last up, so and there had been a bit of a delay in our group, so it was literally just me going, and so we had all eyes on me, and then my group started cheering for me, and it just felt like everyone was behind me at that moment, and I saluted the judges. And I didn't really have nerves. Obviously, I wasn't doing any hard skills, and I just tried to embrace it. And then I felt this sense of accomplishment, even though I'd done the easiest skills I've ever done on a competition floor at the Olympic Games. But I just really did sort of say to myself, like, look, you did it. You're an Olympian. And it was a really special moment.
I watched the video of that moment, and the smile on your face is absolutely telling of the joy that you must have felt inside, Danusia. So incredible.
Thank you. Yeah, it was amazing. And I had a really, really good time out there. Like, obviously, it's crazy to say that with the injury that I had, but my coach and I, we just embraced it. It was what it was with COVID, with the regulations sort of not being allowed out of the village and stuff like that. But every single day we were laughing together. Me and my coach, we went to that shop every single day. We bought probably the most merch out of anyone there. And yeah, it'll be a memory that I tell my grandkids one day of my Olympic experience. And yeah, it wasn't gold medals and all of this, but it was my Olympic experience and something I'll always treasure.
Yes, yes. What a story, Danusia. Just your attitude throughout your gymnastics career, the ups and downs, and your ability to be resilient and to be positive and to move forward. The advice that you gave, keep moving forward. Feel the pain. Don't, deny it. Feel it, but continue to move forward and allow yourself to accomplish those things that have yet to happen. Such good advice. You're such a good role model in life in general. Yes, gymnastics, but I also look at gymnastics as this microcosm of life, right? The things that you learn in gymnastics are transferable to wherever you go. Now, I want to talk about your experience being a Black gymnast. You are from Polish and Jamaican descent. And as I've talked to various gymnasts about their experience, I've found that those athletes who have competed outside of the U.S. have had a much different experience than those Black gymnasts who have competed in the U.S. for their entire careers. Can you tell me what your experience has been?
Yeah, I think growing up, I was always so confident as a person. So I think that probably helped in terms of not getting bullied for any reason at school, whether it's skin color or something else. And in fact, I have memories of being really young, and my sister was a year above me in school, and she actually did get bullied, and I was the one that would go and confront the bullies for my older sister. So that was kind of the vibe that I had as a young kid. So yeah, and then so I think that helped in terms of self-confidence. And I think also now, when I do look back, I always remember everyone wanted to touch my hair all the time. And I know now that's more of a sort of taboo thing, and it would be, I would think twice now if someone wanted to touch my hair. But I remember growing up as a child and thinking it was a huge compliment. And I think that also speaks to people that were asking to touch it, because I think they would say it in a way that made me feel that way. So I think it was usually coming from a place of like, I like your hair. But that's something that now, knowing how it can also be perceived, or how it can also be communicated. It's an interesting one to look back on. But I think slightly I had ignorance is bliss on my side, as well as this confidence in my own skin, to where that helped me in terms of life, not just gymnastics, but being a Black female. And then I was very lucky to go to a gymnastics club in London, so where it was very diverse. There was a lot of us that were of different ethnicities, and it helped that also a lot of us that were Black were also the best ones. Obviously, there was also other white gymnasts that were also great at our club as well, but quite a few of us that were Black were some of the best ones. So
that's interesting.
I think that also helped. And then in the national squad, there was also a few of us that were Black, and Becky Downey was a couple of years older than me, so I sort of had a role model as well. So yeah, overall, it was a good experience. And then obviously at UCLA, it was very diverse, and there was lots of us, and it was very empowering to be there amongst so many different amazing Black gymnasts.
Now, you have talked about experiencing being a Black gymnast or a Black woman as an adult. Now, you spoke a little bit earlier before we started to record this interview about someone you have asked to be a mentor to you, or who has become a mentor to you. Can you tell me more about that relationship and how that formulated?
Yeah, I met this person really briefly at an event, and then I happened to see a video of her a good few months later, and I was watching that video, and I was just really sort of almost like mesmerized with just like the passion and the kind of empathy that she showed. She was mentoring people from underprivileged backgrounds to be gymnastics coaches. And that video it spoke to me. It was so strange. It was just, yeah. And then, so I contacted her just to compliment her on this video. And then it was almost as if we just had some sort of connection. And I don't know if she feels it or not. I've not actually asked her, but she was like, oh, I'd love to chat with you. I saw the workshops you've been doing. And we just had a bit of back and forth, and then decided that we should meet in person. So we met in person a couple of weeks after that. And I'd been saying to my husband and my mum, oh, she's going to be my mentor. Like, she doesn't know it yet, but she's going to be my mentor. And I also still didn't actually know what her actual job was. And then as soon as we sat down in person, it was as if she knew that she was going to help me and be a mentor and someone that could help to guide me in my career. And immediately she was asking me questions that were resonating and about my experiences, about where I am now, and then giving me lots of insights from her life and her business. And I was so, just impressed by her. She gave me this boost of motivation, and I just came away from there thinking, wow, like it just felt so like it was meant to be, and that it fit in place. And I was just reflecting and thinking, I wonder why she was someone that I just felt so strongly that I wanted to get in touch with and get in contact with. And I think it was partly seeing myself in her. She's another Black female, and the way that she was speaking on that initial video was just so confident, so strong, but it was like the empathy and the compassion that she had for helping other people. And so now she is my mentor, and it's amazing. And it's really exciting to have someone a little bit older, and not only obviously work-wise, career-wise, but she's got a good successful marriage and family. And so I just feel like she's someone that I would like to be like as I get older.
That's really special, Danusia. I think a lot of us may go a lifetime without a mentor, but I think mentors are so important for all of us, no matter what age you are, to have someone there to just, who's been there, done that, and can speak wisdom and life into you. There's nothing like it. Thank you for sharing that story. I appreciate it. Now, along the lines of you in your adulthood, tell me what life looks like for you now.
Yeah, so now, as I mentioned briefly, I am on the board of British Gymnastics, and then I'm also on the Pan American Sports Commission. So both of those roles are really amazing. I'm getting to give back to the sport that's given me a lot in my life. And it's been really a learning curve. I've only been on the Pan American Sports Commission for a few months, but I've been on the British Gymnastics Board for a couple of years now. And I didn't really know what it meant to be on a board till I was on a board. So that's been a really big learning curve. But I've met lots of great people, lots of them with lots of corporate experience. So originally you had to have 10 years corporate experience to be considered to be put on the board. But the new CEO, she changed that rule because she wanted to have an athlete's voice on there. So I think that was great. And yeah, it's just been exciting to have an impact and to also learn how a company of that size works and an organization. But besides that, I have been lucky enough to do some stunt work in TV and movies, which has been really exciting the past few years. And then lots of coaching and choreography. And I actually really enjoy coaching at a recreational level. So at the moment, I'm doing a lot of work in different schools, which has been really fun. And I do a little bit of recruiting as well, helping gymnasts that want to go to college in America.
Oh, wow.
Oh, and as well as that, sorry, I forgot like one of my main things is presenting. So I do, when I was young, I always wanted to be a TV presenter, and I've been really lucky to work obviously with gymnastics. It presents so many opportunities. So I reached out to start doing announcing, and then that led to doing a bit of commentating and presenting. And then at the recent British Championships, we actually did a live show. So that was amazing on the BBC for the British Championships event finals. So that was really, really exciting. Yeah, so just lots of different things, but most of them revolving from gymnastics. And that's the other thing that I think is amazing. The opportunities that you sort of never really think of at the time, but that lead you to your next destination.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that. You lead a full life. And you also forgot another thing. You did get married, correct?
I did, yes. In 2022.
Yes.
So we're coming up to our 2-year anniversary in June. We got a house now, so really settled. We got a ginger cat called Kojo. Shout out Kojo.
Shout out for Kojo. Aw, fun. So how has marriage been?
Yeah, marriage has been amazing. Elliot is also half Jamaican, and he's really into Black history, and he's done classes on it, and he's actually written curriculums on it that quite a few of the schools use in the UK. So yeah, he's actually an osteopath and has a health and fitness clinic, and he does that on the side. So he's a busy guy. But yeah, it's been really interesting to learn some of the Black history that he's taught me, because obviously he's doing curriculums because there isn't Black history in schools in the UK. So I didn't really learn it. He's gone about himself to learn that. But being half Jamaican and being able to learn some more of the Jamaican history and the rich history that Jamaica's got, and we've travelled there loads of times together now. So that's been really, really amazing. And yeah, he was there at the World Championships where I qualified for the Olympics. So that was a really special moment for him to be at that career high for me.
Wow. So he's been in the picture for a while.
Yeah, he's been in the picture since 2018.
Okay. So fun. Well, Danusia, what does living in Brilliance mode look like for you?
So living in Brilliance mode for me is feeling like you wake up and you're excited for the day. Whether, like I said, I've got a few different jobs, but I'm usually excited for whichever one I'm doing that day, and feeling like when you go to bed, you're tired and you know you're going to sleep well because you've fulfilled whatever your goal was that day. Even if that day was just to relax, you feel like you've done that day. And that's actually something that I've had to work on recently, is to be able to have them days where I relax and I don't feel kind of guilty for it. But yeah, feeling in Brilliance mode is ticking off my to-do list, having things to look forward to socially, but also looking forward to big goals that you might be accomplishing, small goals that you might be accomplishing. And I think another thing I'd add to that is Brilliance mode is being able to stay in contact with those that you care about. And I hope that makes sense. But what I mean is sometimes when I felt like I'm too overwhelmed or I'm tired, then I realise I haven't texted my mum or my grandma in like a week or two. So I think Brilliance mode is finding that fine line between working hard but not too hard, and feeling like you're striving and making momentum towards where you want to be.
Oh, that's really good. So it's not only living out your personal brilliance, but it's also making sure you maintain those important connections. And it's also getting rest. I think that's the first time I've heard someone mention rest when they talked about them being in their brilliance mode. And I think that's wonderful because we need that rest to replenish for those other things that we are assigned to do. So it's beautiful. Thank you, Danusia. I appreciate it.
I know that when I look at the clock before I go to bed and I think, oh, I've only got 4 hours sleep or 5 hours sleep, I don't feel brilliant. So that's why I had to add in a little bit about rest and sleep.
Yes.
When I see important. That 8 hours, brilliant.
That's good. I'm glad you added that in there. Well, Danusia, it has been so fun talking with you. Thank you for sharing your story and for giving me insight and those who listen insight into what was going on in your mind as you went for the Olympics those 3 times and was able to achieve your dream. So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Kim. It's been amazing to speak to you.
Thank you so much for listening. If you want to learn more about Danusia Francis, check out our show notes on inbrilliancemode.com/podcast. And to connect with Danusia on Instagram, follow her at Danusia Francis. If you've enjoyed this episode of Resilience to Brilliance, please share it with others who may be encouraged by it. And to make sure you don't miss future episodes, please follow or subscribe to the Resilience to Brilliance podcast on YouTube and on your favorite podcast platform. You can also follow me on Instagram at RealKimAnthony. Any use of this podcast without the express written consent of Brilliance Mode, LLC is prohibited.